Now let's turn our attention to some of the more modern tests, and I'm not going to get really deep into the weeds with test construction and all of the basic concepts. I'll give you the most basic concepts, but I don't deem those as the most important thing for you to understand. When we talk about the modern tests of mental ability, we typically talk about two particular kinds of tests. One of the first ones, well, let me go back to review something real quickly. First of all, aptitude. Aptitude is the idea of aptitude by its nature, like I mentioned before, has to do with innate abilities. It also has something to do with predicting somebody's future performance, and that's usually what aptitudes are looking at. So they are not only looking at future performance, but we're also looking at the idea of somebody's capacity to learn, and that's what we're trying to understand when we take somebody through an achievement test itself. So we've got innate abilities, future performance, and capacity to learn. Second, I already mentioned briefly to you achievement tests. They are not the same, and achievement tests, on the other hand, are basically trying to get a fix on what the person has actually learned. So what person has learned. And so you can see immediately the differences here is that we are looking in aptitude tests with trying to predict a little bit of what they will do in the future, also trying to grasp the capacity of their learning themselves. Now, one of the key tests that is important to be aware of, I guess would be the best way to put it, is the Wexler tests. And they come in a variety of forms. We have one for preschoolers, which goes from about 2 years of age to 6 years of age. This is referred to as the WIPSI, Wexler Intelligence Test for Preschoolers, Intelligence, so WIPSI. The second one is the WISC, which really is elementary school age kids. And this is currently, I believe, in its fourth edition, I believe. And WISC stands for Wexler Intelligence Scale for Children. And then we also have one for adults, and that usually starts somewhere around that 17 or 18 years of age, and that is referred to as the WAIS, Wexler Adult Intelligence Scale. And basically, these are the most widely used intelligence tests that we have. There are 15 subtests that look at a variety of areas. Usually they drop down into verbal subtests and nonverbal subtests. And essentially, for the verbal, for example, it looks at verbal comprehension. So we describe a situation and see how well the person can actually comprehend what exactly needs to be done. We would look at general knowledge. We might look at a variety of other areas that they would use their verbal skills in. Nonverbal, this is what's pictured here, is actually block design, is what is pictured in the illustration here. And when you think about it, you really don't use any verbal skills to imitate a design that's shown you on a card. And so that's what this particular student is doing here. is you see on the card the design, and then the student has a series of blocks that they are to imitate what's on that card. And the other component part here is it's timed. And so by creating a timed situation, we can see a number of different things that are important to understand about intelligence. And the other part of that is processing speed. So if you recall, when we were talking about intelligence itself, how quickly somebody can process a situation and produce a response is quite key in understanding intelligence itself. So striking differences between these scores provide clues to the cognitive strength of the person, and it's looking at what a teacher can build on or what a student can have as a strength itself. There are a variety of other tests that we use. Like I mentioned, there is a good bit of subtests in here that include general knowledge. For example, things like who was the first president of the United States. We can have comprehension of social situations, and all of those are very much a part of the modern tests that we use to measure intelligence. Wexler tests are the key tests, the ones that are most commonly used to measure it. Some of you probably have never been exposed to an individual intelligence test. On the other hand, if you have testing for learning disabilities or things of that sort, this is one of those tests that you might end up taking.